Okay, thanks for joining us today, everyone. We'll go ahead and begin by introducing ourselves to you as today's webinar presenters. I am Janie Graham, and with me today is Lauren Austin.
Hey.
We will be presenting the information in today's webinar on behalf of the Office of Early Learning's K-3 Formative Assessment Team. Our team is comprised of 8 regional consultants and support staff. At the close of the webinar, we will provide you with the contact information of your regional consultant who serves your area. This will allow you an opportunity to reach out to your consultant with any follow-up requests related to the content of today's webinar.
And a special role in providing a webinar happens behind the scenes. So with us also today, we have 2 additional team members, Darlene Germano, North Central Consultant, and Melissa Strickland, Northeast Consultant, and they will work behind the scenes of today's webinar to manage the question box. And they will work to answer any questions that you have regarding the content of today's webinar. If they find that there are questions that would be beneficial to the entire participant group, they will share those with everyone when the time allows. And thanks for being with us today, ladies.
Your time is valuable, and our time with you is limited. Therefore, we want to make sure you get the information you joined in for today. So today's agenda is listed here on the screen. When you leave today's webinar, we hope that you will acquire some data collection support that will help you in the absence of the previously used app. You will also have a clear understanding of the difference between a learning status and status summary. And we will also spend a bit of time digging into some ways that you can bedazzle or enhance your current evidence collection in an effort to determine learning statuses that can be used effectively to finalize at the close of the 60th day. And last but not least, we want to share some resources that are available to you that will help you engage families in the North Carolina kindergarten entry assessment process. So let's get going. As many of you are aware, the North Carolina KEA technology platform moved to the NC Ed Cloud single sign-on access for the 2018-19 school year. Based on the need to reconfigure the Apple and Android applications to meet the specifications and requirements for single sign-on, North Carolina will not have access to the Apple or Android application during this year's implementation of KEA. This was a feature that has typically aided teachers in capturing evidence during instruction. Districts and schools that have supported the use of the app in previous years will more than likely need to provide support for teachers who are transitioning through the loss of this feature. This is not necessarily a permanent outcome of the use of single sign-on. However, the current loss has created a need for some accommodations and adjustments. We are encouraging all North Carolina KEA stakeholders to continue to be patient during this transition. And please know that efforts are being made to support the redevelopment of the app that would include those security features that are aligned to the single sign-on technology requirements. So due to this, many of you are probably asking the question, well, then how do I collect evidence without the app? Please know the formative assessment process is the most important factor of administering the NCKEA. The technology platform and the previously implemented app was and is designed to simply support you with your efforts to learn more about your students and make informed decisions about your teaching and their learning and developmental needs. Improving upon the use of the 5 critical components of the North Carolina formative assessment process will allow for you to transfer the information gathered during instruction into those technology support features with ease. So I'm sure this graphic is very familiar, but let's take a moment and revisit those 5 critical components of the formative assessment process. Teachers uncover what students know and are able to do by eliciting evidence of learning. Through careful planning, a teacher uses multiple assessment means, such as taking photos, video recordings, writing observation-based notes, reviewing data from other assessment instruments, collecting work samples, and even seeking family input to learn about where students are currently in their learning and development. The interpretation of these evidences informs the teacher's instructional practices, allowing him or her to adapt and respond to the learning needs of students, and ultimately answer the question, what can help me learn what students know?
The NC K-3 formative assessment process occurs within the instructional routine rather than as an isolated event apart from instruction. There are a variety of different ways to learn about students during instruction, including observation. Intentionally planned and purposeful observation helps us learn about what our students know and what they are able to do. Here are a few examples of means for eliciting evidence of learning, all of which can be done without the use of the KEA app. These examples are among many, but we wanted you to see that the main difference that you will be facing in the absence of the app is that the evidence collected would need to be stored in your possession until you are ready to upload it to the platform through the NC Ed Cloud program access. So if you are a teacher who chooses to use a handwritten data collection system, you may consider taking a photo of the notes taken and then uploading the photo of that to the platform to reduce the time that you would have to take to re-enter those notes that you had already captured by hand into the platform. So regardless of the method used for eliciting evidence, please remember, as mentioned earlier, that the NC KEA process occurs within the instructional routine rather than as an isolated event apart from instruction. So intentionally planned and purposeful observations help us learn about what our students know and are able to do. Objective note-taking is also very important to the effectiveness of the process. Objectively written notes provide facts such as who, what, how, when, and where, and it does not include opinions, assumptions, and/or judgments. This will aid a teacher in interpreting the evidence and marking a learning status that is reflective of a child's current developmental skill set for each of the NC KEA construct progressions.
For additional resources and tools to support you with eliciting evidence of learning, visit the North Carolina K-3 Formative Assessment Process Wiki. You will find additional documentation support.
The KEA observation grids are available in the KEA specific resources tab. There is a link for each KEA construct progression to help you with organization and record keeping management. The link to the wiki is being placed in the chat box for you to be able to access.
Thanks, Lauren. Now let's move to our next agenda item. What is the difference between a learning status and a status summary? A learning status represents a point along a construct progression that best describes the student's current skills and abilities based on evidence gathered. It is important to remember that the process of identifying a child's learning status is not an exact science. Rather, it is an evidence-based decision used to identify a new learning target and develop criteria of success. Lauren, can you share a little bit about how learning status can impact teaching and learning in a kindergarten classroom?
Absolutely. Using a child's current learning status to select new learning targets and develop a criteria for success aids a teacher in effectively using all critical components of the formative assessment process. It is important to collect evidence for the developmental construct progressions across the school day and during a variety of contextual learning opportunities. For example, a child could be observed for fine motor development during a science-focused experience, and then again in the writing station at a different day or at a different time. Teachers can then examine those multiple pieces of evidence and thoughtfully make a more informed decision when determining the learning status that is most current and representative of a child's developmental skill set. So during the NCKEA window, teachers can actively engage in opportunities to move a child along a progression. Therefore, before the close of the 60th day, a child's current learning status may in fact have changed over time.
That's really great and important information, Lauren. In fact, once a learning status is determined, teachers can use the class profile reporting tool in the platform to inform instruction. This could include grouping students with similar or like needs during future learning opportunities. All of the students listed here in this class profile under Skill Set D of the Approaches to Learning Construct Progression in the report have been identified with the same current learning status. Class profile reports and other reporting features can be found in the Reports tab of the North Carolina KEA platform. Now, let's move into a discussion about status summaries. Let's compare what we just shared about a learning status to the definition of a status summary. A status summary is a representation of a finalized learning status for each child at the close of the 60-day window. Status summaries serve as reporting tools used to inform the legislative requirements related to NCKEA. Please note that under Article F of the legislation, the status of children's learning at kindergarten entry will be reported to the General Assembly to support continuous improvement of North Carolina's early childhood system. So if you're wondering how the ongoing observations and marking of learning statuses help you determine a status summary, remember, the more efficient and effective a teacher can be in interpreting multiple sources of evidence and keeping up with marking those learning statuses all along the way, the more accurately they can report status summaries at the close of the 60-day window. Teachers will need to finalize the learning statuses for each student in each construct progression at the close of the 60 days. Once this finalization occurs, a teacher has met the requirements for reporting to them follow. Teachers are still encouraged, though, to continue to support students' movement along those developmental progressions beyond that 60th day. This will allow for students to continue to develop the skills needed in those very important areas of child development. It also allows for the teacher to meet the developmental needs of each child and close the achievement gaps. Lauren, last but not least, can you discuss a little bit about the importance of family engagement and share some resources that are available?
Yes, thank you, Jamie. We would like to stress the value of engaging families in the process of supporting your students in early learning and development. Families are the child's first teachers, and they are so important to their overall success. So there are several resources and tools that can help you as you work to improve upon the relationship between home and school. These family engagement resources are located in a couple of different places. So on the homepage of the K3 FAP Wiki, you can access the NCKEA Family Flyer. This flyer can also be purchased through NCDPI's publication department at $15 for a pack of 30, and it's available in English and Spanish. And the link to access the wiki is going to be provided for you in the chat box. The NCKEA platform houses resources also under the Report and Family tabs. That can be of value when informing families of a child's early learning and development. One resource in particular is the Family Conference Form. It can be used when meeting with families to discuss a child's current learning status for each construct and also to develop a plan to work together to move their learning forward. And we encourage you to check out this resource as well as others as you explore the features of the platform. Additional support for family engagement is also offered through the NCDPI Office of Early Learning's webpage. There is a family engagement toolkit that was developed through a multi-state consortium enhanced assessment grant. Some examples of these family resources are shown here, and they are all worth taking a look at. And we have also provided a link to access these materials in the chat box also. So Jamie, could you bring us to the last part of the webinar?
Sure, Lauren. It looks like we're doing pretty good on time, so we'll have time for questions in just a bit. But before we move to a close and share some of those questions, we'd like to take you back to the heart of what we do. Working with young children is a gift, and they need us to be everything we can be for them. We encourage you to continue to do great things for the children you serve, and please be an advocate for meeting the needs of the whole child. At this time, we will open the conversation for some sharing of some questions that we've had either during the webinar or maybe some questions that you all are even thinking now that may be a good time to ask. But we've posted a slide that provides you with your regional consultant's contact information for any further support that you may need. And we've also provided you, or will provide you, with an evaluation form that we'd like for you to take the time to complete so that you can help us to improve as we plan future webinars for you. The link to the evaluation will be placed in the chat box for you to access, but it will also be sent out to the participants via email after today's webinar. So if you need to leave the webinar, we understand, and please feel free to do so. But if you'd like to stay connected and hear some of the questions and answers, or ask some questions to help further grow the topic and understanding of the topics we've discussed today, we would love for you to be able to stay with us for the next 5 or 10 minutes or so. So Darlene and Melissa, I'm going to check in with you for that for the moment.
Yes, the question that's come up is about some of the districts that have been affected by Hurricane Florence. And we do want all of you to know that you have been in our thoughts and prayers all through these last few weeks. Your director will be working with the regional consultant for your region, and you will be notified from your director if anything changes with the status summary date for your school and your district. Another question had to do with the status summary. What is the date? When does that happen? It is the 60th day, which is around November 20th. But we have until December 7th to actually finalize your status summary. So we have given wiggle room there. And of course, like we just said, with Florence, if that changes at all for your district, you will be notified about that.
And another question was about continuing after that status summary is put in. You know, I always answer by saying the fact that this is the process of good quality instruction, and most of the children are not beyond. So of course, the process continues.
And another question was, when is the first date to input evidence? Great question. That is already begun. You can start at any time. A lot of teachers start right the first week of school when they have staggered entry, getting some of that data in so that it already right from the get-go starts informing your instruction and helps you know where children are. So you are welcome to begin that tomorrow with your children and starting to capture evidence of learning and putting in your learning statuses, and remembering that there is no set number of learning statuses. It is ongoing for children, and when you need to put information in that's going to inform your instruction, inform their learning. So you might have more in for one children than you do for another. It's a professional teacher choice on how many she or he needs and when they put them in. I'm looking here. Oh, okay. So that hopefully answered another question that we just got on how many pieces of evidence are required. Of course, you need some on all children. Kindergarten is the beginning of, their school year, so you need to have a base data on all of your children. Certainly, we expect children to be learning more and having more as they progress through these 60 days and to the end of the year. Okay, I think that's pretty good. We'll pass it back to you, Jamie and Lauren.
Sounds good. Thank you. You ladies were super with managing all the questions that were coming in, and I hope that those of you that were able to receive some information based on some of the things you were wondering about, that you got some clarity built for yourselves. And I just appreciate the willingness to engage with us. I think it's really important with webinars to have that engaging opportunity, to have some cross collaboration and conversation, because once we hear from you all, then we know what needs others may have. And so we appreciate your engagement with that. And again, I just want to draw your attention to the screen and the 8 regional areas of the state with contact information that you have available to you. Please know that for some of the questions related to the hurricane and delays of that information, each district should have a kindergarten entry assessment contact person at your district office.
And Jamie,
And yes.
I'm just going to jump in here since we still have time. Another question had to do with coaches being able to be put into the platform. And yes, they can be a support and put into the platform. And if you have coaches, be sure, and as Jamie's showing right on the screen now, let your regional consultant know that that's something that you would like to have happen, and they will help you with that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. That actually came up in yesterday's conversation as well, about getting folks in that weren't necessarily placed into the system through the PowerSchool merge. So for those of you who are serving in roles of support or administrative roles, but are not the actual principal in the school, maybe a coach, maybe Title I person who works directly with students, there is someone at your district office who has the contact information to be able to get you into the system for being able to help support and access the information that you need. So just know that that is available through your district contact person. And then, of course, the relationship that that person has with the individual consultants that are listed on the screen now can help you get what you need. And we know that time is limited with that 60-day window, but just want to stress that that is just a one little stopping place for us to really gather some information and get a true picture of where children are at kindergarten entry. But we know that that does not fulfill and benefit children holistically to stop at that 60th day. So I just want to reemphasize that and encourage folks to really assess those class profiles, look at where your students are, gather that information so you can continue to support those students in growing in those areas of child development. They're so important to not only school success, but life success in general. So I want to again thank everyone for joining us today. I know time is of the essence and you have busy lives, and you took the time out to be with us today, so we want to thank you. And we look forward to seeing some great things happening in those kindergarten classrooms out there. And we encourage you to reach out to us and let us know what's happening so that we can
Jamie, we
yes.
put the evaluation link in the chat box for everyone.
Okay.
So that is all set to go. If they look
So
in their chat box, they will see it.
That is available. And then they also receive that as a post email that they will receive as a result of their participation today, correct?
That's right.
Okay. And so you guys look for that and please fill that out, because we are encouraged by getting that feedback to be able to help better serve you all out in the field. So thank you for joining today. At this time, it is 3:59, so we're actually 1 minute away from our originally determined date. So you all have 1 minute to close that computer down and get to your next place that you have to be. So we just want to thank you again, and we're hopeful that we will be able to provide some other opportunities for us to collaborate together. So thank you all so much, and thank you, Melissa and Darlene and Lauren, for being able to be here today with us and helping us out.